Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast, your number one source for Packers news. Incidentally, very excited. I got my Micah Parsons jersey in the mail today. I actually ordered it the day that his number was officially designated. I held off for a couple days. Sure glad I did. Originally, there was talk that he was going to be 0, then it ended up being 1. So, very excited to have my number one Micah Parsons jersey in time for the game on Sunday. Very excited about the game on Sunday. We're going to start breaking this game down throughout the course of the next couple days to get you ready for Packers versus Browns. This is a very exciting game, and it's exciting because of the potential for reaffirming what we saw in the first 2 weeks, and it's also a little nerve-wracking because it just feels like a trap game, and hopefully the Packers are going to be on top of it, focused on the Cleveland Browns, and not peeking ahead into the schedule and looking at the Dallas Cowboys coming up the week after that. So let's definitely hope that your Green Bay Packers are focused in on the Cleveland Browns. So, first of all, let's take a look at our injury report that was issued on Wednesday. We've got a lot of banged up Packers. There's some banged up Browns. So let's talk about those and how they'll impact the game. First up, we have Zane Anderson with a knee injury. He was a full participant on Wednesday. Probably Zane Anderson is going to just come off of this list. He's been pretty consistent at getting to full participation. So Zane Anderson will probably leave this list, and I'm assuming he will be available this week in the event that they need to pull a safety off the bench. Zane Anderson right now is basically the number 4 safety on this team. So the only way he's going to consistently get on the field is if there's a significant injury. He did play well in limited snaps last year, so he's always great to have on the bench. Next up, we have Aaron Banks. He had a groin injury. He was a limited participant today. Nate Hobbs, knee, limited participant. Now these limited participations are not going to be the same. So let's start talking about that. So Banks is coming off of a significant injury week 1. He didn't play week 2. So the fact that he was limited leads me to believe that unless he gets to becoming a full participant by Thursday or Friday, then he might not play this week. My gut feeling is Aaron Banks does not start this week, and Jordan Morgan is your left guard for this week. Now, next up, Nate Hobbs was a limited participant. As far as we know, he hasn't had a setback on his recovery from his knee surgery. So, limited participant on a Wednesday for Nate Hobbs just tells me that they're ramping Nate Hobbs up, making sure that there aren't any problems with that knee injury. But I fully expect that Nate Hobbs is going to be playing in this game against the Browns. Josh Jacobs, ankle injury, limited participation. Now, I saw this today, and I was kind of surprised by it because Josh Jacobs was played all through week 1, all through week 2, never had a hint of an injury, and now he's showing up with an ankle injury on the list. He was limited participation. That leads me to believe that I'm hoping this is veteran rest and Josh Jacobs will be fine for this game. I think Josh Jacobs is a key component to this game because the Cleveland Browns, and we'll talk about it a little earlier, actually have a very solid run defense. So having Josh Jacobs out of this game would be a significant problem for the Green Bay Packers to overcome. Not necessarily because you need the production, because he's been limited the first 2 weeks. It's more about the fact that when Josh Jacobs is in the backfield, the defense tends to go with a safety in the box, which is giving Jordan Love the opportunity to make big plays in the passing game. If Josh Jacobs is not in that backfield, next thing you know, you're going to have two high safeties, and it's going to be harder for Jordan Love to make big plays. Bo Melton, cornerback, with a shoulder injury, limited participation. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. Bo Melton might not be back this week. We'll have to see what happens. Jordan Love, left thumb, full participation. Not sure why he's on this injury report since he played week 1, played week 2, and he's been a full participant. So I'm not sure why they put him on this injury report. Jayden Reed is out with a foot and shoulder. We know he did not participate because he is recovering from his surgery. In fact, shout out to Jayden Reed because he actually went out on social media and right after surgery was prognosticating about the Packers going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if that was the best move for him, to be honest. It felt like he was still high on anesthesia and maybe some painkillers. So I wouldn't recommend doing that on social media, Jayden, in the future. So a family member probably should have taken your phone away and said, you know what, you don't need to be on the socials right now. But shout out to Jayden Reed. He is recovering from his clavicle and foot surgery. He is expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. I think it's interesting that he was going in for the clavicle and they just said, you know what, he's got a foot problem. Let's just go ahead and take care of that right now. I think it was a smart decision. I don't think it's going to slow down his recovery or return. In fact, it probably reduces the chances of having another foot injury in the rest of the season. Zach Tom has an oblique injury. He was limited participation. So big news here, Zach Tom and Aaron Banks. These are the two injuries here for the Packers that I'm really watching very closely. It's very likely that Zach Tom and Aaron Banks will be out for this game. Number one, they're not fully recovered from their injury, and we don't want to get them re-aggravated. Number two, I do think the Packers are feeling pretty confident that they can handle the Browns without those players. And I'm sure that to some extent the Packers are worried about getting those players healthy for week 4 against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a fun game. So we'll watch that very closely. But my expectation is Zach Tom will be out with probably Anthony Belton starting. And Aaron Banks will be out with Jordan Morgan starting at his position. And I think they could do just fine. Yes, they're playing against Myles Garrett this week, but the rest of the team overall for the Browns is not close to the Commanders, so I think the Packers will be okay. Let's take a look at some key issues for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to go through all of their injuries. I'm going to try to highlight some of the big ones. DeAndre Carter is on concussion protocol. He did not participate, so he's probably, if he doesn't practice by Thursday, he's probably out for this week. Malik Collins, defensive tackle, had a rest day with limited participation. Not too worried about that. Jack Conklin, the tackle, has an elbow injury, limited participation. I expect he'll play. Mike Hall, defensive tackle with knee, limited participant. I expect he will play. And cornerback Denzel Ward, shoulder/cramping, was a full participant. So I think Denzel Ward will be out there on Sunday against your Green Bay Packers offense. So that's an injury wrap-up. Now what I want to do is start looking at this matchup. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our friends at PFF who you can argue about some of their grading sometimes, but they do just provide really clear and concise information where you can quickly look at a matchup. So let's take a look at the matchup here from our friends at PFF. Let me zoom in a little bit, and we'll share our screen. And here we go. So we got the matchup. Green Bay Packers 2-0. 2-0 against the spread for those of you that are gamblers. It's going to be Sunday at early morning kickoff, 11 a.m. where I am. And it's going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, of course. 65 degrees with scattered clouds against the Cleveland Browns, 0-2. Against the spread, 1-1. So let's take a look at start to look at the matchups for this game. I'm going to start to look at keys to the game probably on Friday, but I want to start looking at the matchup metrics and try to figure out where we have a good success for the Packers winning this game, okay? So overall power rank, Green Bay Packers number 4. Interestingly enough, the Packers were a consensus top 4 pick in most of the power rankings that I saw this week. So this power rank of 4th overall feels pretty legit to me. Some ranking systems actually had him up to number 1. Shout out to The Atlantic, who has the Packers as the number 1 team in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns are currently ranked 28th. I think that's about right. Let's look at the defense. So Packers have the first ranked defense according to PFF. And the Cleveland Browns have the 11th ranked defense. So this is an important thing to keep in mind. Yes, the Cleveland Browns have been beat up 2 weeks in a row. But you have to keep in mind, they probably should have won week 1 against the Bengals. And last week, they played the Ravens. And it's not really a surprise that they got blown out by the Ravens. But this is a solid team on defense. 11th in the league. And they have the ability to rush the quarterback. And they have really good secondary and a really good run defense. So we shouldn't just discount this Browns team as being not competitive, because defensively they're actually a very competitive team, well above average. It's really just their offense that they're struggling with. So on offense, the Packers are the 8th rated offense, and the Browns are the 30th rated offense. Strength of schedule played, Packers are 3rd, and the Cleveland Browns are 1st, which I don't know if I agree with that as far as the strength of schedule. Yes, they played the Ravens, but then they played the Bengals, who almost beat them. So I'm not really sure whether you could say the Browns had the toughest strengths of schedule played so far. I think there's teams that would disagree with that. Average offensive snaps. Okay, so this is interesting here. Packers have 59 offensive snaps. The Browns have 76 snaps. Now, a lot of this is because they were playing behind significantly against the Ravens. So it was lots of pass, punt, pass. So they were really trying to play from behind. The fact that the Packers had a lower offensive snap number really means, in my opinion, that they were really dominant on defense and didn't have to try to win the game with their offense. Running play percentage. This is very interesting. Packers are 74.4. That's actually lower than their average last year. And the Browns are 29.5%. And again, that comes from the fact that the Cleveland Browns are playing from behind a lot, and I do expect them to be playing from behind a lot in this game. So the Packers are going to be playing in the nickel quite a bit in this game because the Cleveland Browns need to show that they're a threat to run the ball for the Packers to get out of nickel. So I expect a ton of nickel in this game against the Cleveland Browns. Pass percent plays 52%, almost 53% for the Packers, 71% almost for the Cleveland Browns. They are throwing it around the yard. That doesn't mean they're successful, but they are throwing the ball a lot. EPA per run, the Packers are minus 0.13. That's about where they were last year statistically. The Browns are actually 0.06. So the Browns are more successful per run. They just don't run the ball as much as the Packers. EPA per pass, the Packers are looking really good at 0.28, whereas the Cleveland Browns are negative 0.28. So they're throwing the ball a lot and not having a lot of success out of the passing game. So that's something to watch very closely. Quarterback comparison. Is there really a comparison here, folks? We got Jordan Love, PFF grade of 86.7. That is top 5 in the NFL right now. Those of you that thought Jordan Love is reckless with the ball, he's not a game-winning quarterback, he has now gotten to the point where he's the 5th rated quarterback in the NFL according to PFF. So those Jordan Love haters, they can keep on hating because Jordan Love is on fire so far this season. Joe Flacco is at 57.7 for a PFF grade. Passer rating clean. So this is passer rating while safe and clean in the pocket. 151.7 for Jordan Love. That's a perfect score. And Joe Flacco, 86.5. So even when Joe Flacco has good protection, he has time in the pocket, he's still not throwing the ball very well. Passer rating under pressure, 49.8 for Jordan Love, 38.9 for Joe Flacco. There's going to be a lot of pressure in this game on both sides of the ball, so that really is important. Big time throw percentage. This is a big number for Jordan Love and a key to how they were successful the first 2 weeks. Jordan Love is at 9.84%, big throw percentages. Joe Flacco, 0.00, no big time throw percentage. Turnover worthy play, Jordan Love is at 3.28. Joe Flacco is 2.94%. So overall power ranking for the quarterbacks, Packers are at 7, and the Cleveland Browns are at 24. So there you have it. So let's take a look at the matchups, the lineups real quick. We're not going to go into this too deep because I'm going to go through this in our pregame show, but I just want to take a quick look at the matchups here. So first we have the Browns offense against the Packers defense. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to look at Browns 3 wide receiver sets because that's the most common set that we see the Browns playing out of. We've got Jerry Jeudy, not a great season so far. We have Thrash, not a great season in the slot. We've got Frannon Jr., not a great season at tight end. We've got Tillman, not a great season so far at the other wide receiver slot. We've got Joe Flacco. We have Jenkins, who is their rookie running back this year. He's actually in the green, so we got to give him credit for that. And we've got some good guard play from Bonito and Teller. Conklin has not played well, and Jones has not played well either. So the left tackles and the right tackle are where this team is very vulnerable. So look for a lot of pass rush coming off the edges for the Packers. And let's look at the Packers defense here. these numbers are really amazing to me. Look at this. Keyshawn Nixon is your number one rated cornerback in the league. Number one. Nate Hobbs over here is not ranked because he has had limited snaps, but Carrington Valentine, who is ranked and has been starting at outside corner, is number 7 in the NFL right now. So all those people that were worried about the Packers cornerbacks, we've got the number 1 corner and we've got the number 7 corner on our team. So there's no question that Nixon and Valentine and Hobbs are helped by the likes of Micah Parsons and the rest of the pass rush, as well as having great linebackers to provide coverage as well. But at the end of the day, our corners are really holding the line and playing exceptionally well. So we would play a base personnel. Let's look at the nickel. That's probably a better representation. So we've got Nixon, and Hobbs would actually be in the slot over Bullard, and Valentine will be playing on the outside. We've got Parsons playing well. We've got Wyatt, who's the 15th rated interior defensive lineman. That's great since this is the first year he's been a full-time starter. Wyatt is playing very well. Rashawn Gary, 61st out of 114 edges. Combine that with Micah Parsons, who's 5th out of 114. And we've got a great dominant defense here. We've got Cooper, who's 25th out of 73. I still think this rating is very low. And Walker is actually playing really well right now. I'm very excited about that. Williams is playing great at safety. And McKinney has a very low rating because all these guys here in the front of the defense are doing their job so well that McKinney just doesn't have anything to do. But there's no question that McKinney isn't an elite safety. So that's just a quick look. So let's flip around. We're going to look at defense for the Browns. We're going to put the Packers in the 2 tight end formation because we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end formation. It's actually the most efficient formation for the Packers passing attack right now. And it's also going to be really key to stopping Myles Garrett. So we've got Dobbs, who's very solid, 25th out of 109th wide receivers. Matthew Golden, who really needs to come up and be golden this week against the Cleveland Browns. I think he'll get his opportunities. We've got Tucker Kraft, who's the 3rd best tight end in the league. He has arrived. He is a matchup nightmare. Okay? So let's take a look at what options the Browns have against Tucker Kraft. They can take a safety and put a safety on Tucker Kraft. I think that's a good matchup for that, an equal matchup, a neutral matchup between Tucker Kraft and the Browns safeties. You could take a linebacker, which would take the linebacker away from other duties if you have him focus on Tucker Kraft. A corner, no chance they're going to be effective against Tucker Kraft. Let's look at our offensive line. We've got Walker playing solid. Jordan Morgan as a backup for left guard. I think he's playing fine. Elton Jenkins is being very solid at center while he settles in. Sean Ryan is 24th out of 69 guards. And Anthony Belton, for all the learning pains he's had and growing pains and penalties, he's still the 35th ranked tackle. That means that he's almost a starting caliber tackle as a backup. So that's a really good sign for Anthony Belton's development. And this is most likely the line that we're going to see this week for the Green Bay Packers offense. So that's going to wrap up this edition of the Pack Attack Cast. I just wanted to start breaking down the matchup between the Cleveland Browns and your Green Bay Packers. This is not going to be a game that's a blowout. It's a runaway game. I would love to see that, but we need to respect the Green Bay Packers challenge of facing a top 11 defense this week, including Myles Garrett right here. Myles Garrett against Rasheed Walker. I think Rasheed Walker should be able to hold his own. Perhaps you can have a tight end or a running back chip Garrett to slow him down. But I think this is going to be the key to the game, and I think the Packers will be successful in this game. This is not going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a competitive game, and I'll give you my prediction for the game in a couple days once we get an update on some of these injuries. But I'm very confident the Packers can come out of this game 3-0. We'll be back tomorrow with some more breakdowns on this matchup. We're going to dig deeper into the matchups to watch specifically between certain players. And we're also going to give you hopefully an injury update as we get closer and closer to week 3 against the Browns. I know it's a 10-game gap between the last time we saw the Packers, but I'm very excited about this game on Sunday. I'm excited about the game after that against the Cowboys. But just like the Packers, we have to focus on this week against the Cleveland Browns. We'll see you later. As always, go Pack Go, and we'll see you for another edition for the Pack Attack Cast. If you haven't hit subscribe so you get these updates as soon as they come out, and we'll talk to you next time.